Hello, hashtag we gamma math. We are going into our week 13, and I wanted to give you some quick highlights. So, we are leveling up and we are getting ready to roll out our organization to our students. And as we get prepared to do that, please make sure that you know we are going to have a dance video to entice kids to join. So stay tuned for that. If you are available to stay after school on Tuesday, definitely we want to see you there. And hopefully we'll have time on Wednesday during our data day to actually record. So some new data is coming in. Just please make sure that you're scanning in your test as soon as you can so that we can respond to that data. Speaking of which, so I had the pleasure to work with Ms. Robinson on last week, and I just wanted to highlight her because she did so many powerful things. The first step that she did was in our O3, we immediately started to look at data from her most recent test. So these are works, and it's also attached to this email of her brain dropping and just thinking about how she's going to attack the most common misconception around her lowest test question. The next thing we did was we used actual student data to create an exemplar as well as create the student facing guide for that day. And even further, the push was, can we plan, including our teacher pathway focus, which for her, she wanted to work on guided discourse. So after we planned, the next thing we did was we went in the very next day, and Robinson chose to do a small snippet group of students, the ones that did not get this question correct. She allowed them to do a chart the area. So take a moment with me and let's dive into Miss Robinson's class. I don't know, where did 850 come from?
Because he had multiplied 6 times 2.5.
He multiplied 6 times 2.5?
That's what he did. That's how he had got it.
You sure that's multiplication? What was it?
Oh,
Yeah, he added.
yeah, he had added it when it's supposed to
When they were supposed to do what?
subtract.
So we're going to jump to, this was the part where she allowed her students to work on it before she brought them back and did a whole group guided discussion. So now we're going to jump to the part where she brought them back and she started to discuss whole group. So based on both students' work, which student solved this problem correctly? Student 2. And now we're going to use our hands and complete sentences to answer the questions moving forward. So what did student 1 do incorrectly, Lisbeth?
Student 1 added
More specifically, student 1 added what?
positive minus.
No, hands. Pause, hands. Jamaya.
Student 1 added 6x plus 250. We're really supposed to subtract.
Okay. So everything else in this problem is correct. Were they supposed to add 30 to the 40 and 30 to the subtract 30? That was correct. When they did that, should they have gotten 0 there?
Yes.
Yes. Should they have gotten 70? Yes. So both persons did that step correctly. And then, so we're saying that right here is where it went wrong, correct? Okay. So how can we fix this error? Hand, not mouth. Davion, how would you fix this error? So there was so much great things happening in that classroom, but one thing I wanted to highlight was that Robinson did some very key instructional moves. She allowed the students to engage with the text and everything beforehand, and then she brought them back so students could feel like they had a voice in this conversation. And she even rounded it up with one of the students that she visited to correct and ensure that he was prepared to speak before the students. So I want to give kudos to Ms. Robinson. We will be discussing, which is our fourth step, this video in her O3, and we're going to keep moving to make power moves like that for her teacher pathways as well as student achievement. So kudos to Ms. Robinson. The next thing we need to note is, you can read it in the email or you can read it here, is what our O3 focuses will be on. On Monday, bright and early in the morning, please make sure that your board is configured, everything is up to date. And last but not least, some key things that are happening in the upcoming weeks in our grade check. Grades are very important to be updated. We see it a lot that parents aren't sure of where their students stand because grades aren't as accurate as they can be. And I do get phone calls about that as well as emails. Please make sure that you're staying on top of your grades. It's not always just the date of the last grade, but the frequency of the grades that you put in. So make sure that you're hitting both of those. Last but not least, for the week 13 and beyond, we have a lot going on. This week is our data day, so make sure that you are ready and prepared for that, and I'll do that in our O3s. Our benchmark assessment is coming up very soon, so make sure you're chunking that test and be prepared to work on the things that we're going to need for intervention and ensuring that we go back and lap up our data and ensure that our students address the errors that are happening. Do plan for the rollout for our video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for your time. And when you see Ms. Robinson, please give her a big high five.